This morning, no love from Michael Cohen from a top Republican on Capitol Hill. Senate Intelligence Committee Chair Richard Byrd telling reporters that any goodwill he had is now gone. This after the president's former fixer postponed his testimony for a third time. Joining me now is Republican Congressman Chris Stewart. He sits on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thank you for taking the time this morning.
Good morning.
Michael Cohen, of course, a central witness in this investigation. It's the third time he's delayed his testimony. Now he's claiming pain from post-surgery. Prior, the reason had been the ongoing special counsel's investigation. Are you concerned he's trying to dodge his testimony on the Hill?
Well, I think I'd be a fool not to come to the conclusion that that's what he's trying to do. And yes, it does concern me. And look, while he's claiming unable to appear before Congress, we still see him about town. And it doesn't seem very consistent. We want him to come testify before our committee.
On the topic of the day, this, of course, the looming shutdown, an agreement in principle, at least among Republicans and Democrats on the Hill, to fund the government. I know you're still looking at the details of this, but based on the top line figures, about $1.4 billion for a barrier, other funding for technology along the border, is this a bill that you can support?
Yeah, I hope so. And again, we always want to read the bill before we make a final commitment, but we certainly want to start at yes. And I think we probably will be yes, and I think most of us will, and I think the president will sign this bill. Now, am I disappointed in parts of this? Absolutely. As a member of the Appropriations Committee as well as Intelligence, last spring we were writing legislation requesting $25 billion for border security, and now we're down to a little more than a billion or so. You know, obviously I can't look at that and go, well, that's swell, because I don't think it is swell. I don't think it's good. But it's the deal that we have. And frankly, I think we've come to the end of this road. I think that's the best we're going to get. And having said that, Jim, I'd like to say, you know, it now is our responsibility and my responsibility to go to the American people and say, are you okay with this? I'm very disappointed that we don't address Dreamers, that we don't address DACA, something that a lot of us have been trying to do for years, and it's not in this. And go to the American people and say, look, as a Republican, we've been trying to fix this and haven't been able to. And ask them what.
You also have the issue going to the American people and explaining why the president and Congress shut down the government for 35 days when the deal on the table in December before the shutdown gave more money for a barrier. What was the point?
Well, I mean, in hindsight, it didn't help us. You just have to ignore reality to say anything different. It didn't help us. The deal we ended up with now is worse than we had before the shutdown. And look, the last thing that I want, and frankly, I don't know anyone in Congress who actually wants a shutdown. Maybe there's one or two people, but the majority of us don't. We know that impacts people's lives. It's disruptive for people who are expecting government services in different ways. But if you can do that and say, yeah, but I got something, I got a more important priority, we accomplished something, then, you know, perhaps under those circumstances I would accept it, but that wasn't the case here, and that's very disappointing to me.
Let me ask you on another topic, because tomorrow, as you know, will be the one-year anniversary of the Parkland shooting, all those students who died there. And in the wake of that, even the president talked about legislation to address gun violence in the country. As you know, your Democratic colleagues, they're bringing up legislation to restrict high-capacity magazines. There's also discussions of universal background checks. Is that legislation that you would support?
Well, again, we would want to look at it. Now, some of it I can tell you, the magazines, it's not going to make any difference. It truly isn't. I mean, the evidence on this is pretty clear. But there are some things.
Why wouldn't it make a difference? I mean, you saw, why does anybody need a high-capacity magazine? I mean, even in the Parkland shooting, you can shoot a lot more people when you got more bullets in your gun. Why isn't that just a common-sense change that Americans could accept?
Well, then I guess you could take that to its ultimate conclusion and say you should have only be able to sell a weapon with one bullet. And that's all.
Because the slippery slope, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, and this is what the legislation proposes, is one simple step. It doesn't say take everybody's guns away or give them muskets. It just says no high-capacity magazines. Why is that unreasonable?
Right, but Jim, I think there's some things that you and I can't agree on. I mean, maybe we don't agree on that. But look, when this happened, when Las Vegas happened, I think I might have been the first member of Congress. If not, I was one of the very first that says we should eliminate the bump stocks. It's clearly circumventing existing regulation, and there's no need for that. And so I hope you see that I'm not, I'm just not reflexively anti on this. But there are some things that I would support, and a lot of it is mental health issues that clearly come into play here. There are other things, school safety that we supported tens of millions of dollars to beef up our school security. I think there are things that we can agree on, but we're not going to agree on everything. And I think you gave me an example, one of them that I just don't agree with that.
I get it. Listen, as you say, the bump stocks ban did pass, and that the result really of the outrage following the Las Vegas shooting, where bump stocks did make a difference there. Congressman Chris Stewart, always good to have you on the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, sir.
Does the name of a California school district honor slavery? That's what critics are saying there. We're going to take you to the town where some residents are calling for a name change. That's next.